Okay. And whenever you are ready.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be doing a Millennium Development Goal number 1, which is to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. So what is extreme poverty? People under $1.25 per day are considered as living in extreme poverty. So there's a really interesting thing, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs in a pyramid form. So as it goes down the list, it is for more basic needs of human life. And food and water are at the bottom. And with poverty, people in poverty are not even provided with basic needs that humans need. So this problem must be solved in order to give people opportunities to live fairer and happier life. So did we actually achieve the goal of eradicating the extreme poverty and hunger? That's a bold statement. We didn't eradicate, but then we met the goals. The target of having the number of people living under extreme poverty has been achieved 5 years ahead of schedule, which is in 2010. So one of the most achieved goals of MDG, we can proudly say that. Since 1990, 700 million people were, we could cure them from extreme poverty, which is an amazing feat of achievements. However, there is still 1.2 billion people living under extreme poverty and hunger, which is a long way to go. So the ladies will cover the problems and the solutions.
So regarding the problems, we tried to specify down on specific problems, and we decided that the two problems that we were going to focus on was first overproduction in developed countries, and second starvation in third world countries. And we tried to think of a solution that could address both these problems at the same time by redistributing some of the food that is being overproduced in these developed countries. Now, regarding the first problem, on the issue of overproduction in developed countries, if we look at countries like the US or Canada or certain countries in Europe, we see that these countries, some of them are actually doing the practice of throwing away or burning the food that they're creating. Now, why are they doing this? This is because they're creating much more food than is needed to feed their people or to export. And this is because of recent developments in technology regarding the farming industry, like developments regarding new seeds or genetically modified crops, pesticides, fertilizers, and machinery. But this isn't just good news, because if you have too much food in the market, if there's too much of a supply, then naturally prices decrease. And this is something that the agricultural industry always tries to avoid, because if the price is too low, then it makes the livelihoods of these farmers extremely dangerous. And so a lot of countries try to avoid this situation where there's too much overproduction. But the problem is that this problem is very prevalent in developed countries. And so this was the first problem that we analyzed. And the second problem was regarding starvation in third world countries. Now, while in these countries there's overproduction, in these countries there's actually a lot of problems regarding malnutrition or starvation. In the case of sub-Saharan Africa, although a lot of development has been made during the past few years regarding with the MDG, sub-Saharan Africa still remains a very big problem, because 48% of their population, which is nearly half, is still under starvation. They're still worrying about poverty, and they're still in such a dire situation. And if we look at a country very close to us in both geographically and to our heart, in the case of North Korea, a quarter of its population is under poverty, is starving. And so we think that the problem with this isn't just simply because a lot of people are dying, a lot of people have health issues because of malnutrition, although this itself is a serious problem, but we think that the lack of food is the most is the worst thing, it's the thing that causes all these social problems. Things like education that teens have mentioned before, or things like employment. These things can't be carried out if people can't meet their basic needs like food and water. Like we said, in the hierarchy of needs, food and water is always the basic. And so if we want to address other problems like education or employment, then we have to meet the problem of malnutrition and starvation in these countries. And so these were the two problems that we analyzed, and our other speakers are going to talk about our solutions on how to eradicate them.
Okay, as I mentioned before, there are extreme poverty on the earth, so we suggest a hunger stopper kind of UN program. First, UN buy the surplus of grains, wheat, and so on from developed countries at a low price. We think it is important to buy it at a low price that we can buy as much food as possible within the limit of the budget. and we think it is possible to buy the food at a low price, because having too much of a supply of food in the market is bad for farmers too. So they will be willing to dispose of it. So it is a win-win situation for the UN and farmers. And then the UN through the FAO will distribute to all countries in need. Specifically Sub-Saharan Africa, because the healthy population is suffering from extreme hunger. We will distribute to it in accordance to the countries that need it the most. We will also set institutions within these countries that monitor the process, making sure the food goes directly to the people and it is not misused by the government. For example, we will make sure the government does not give all the food to the upper class or send it to other countries by making them give frequent reports and inspecting villages and asking people if food is regularly given. And she will continue.
Excuse me. So who will be the target of this program? So we have mentioned in problem 1 that overproduction in developed countries leads to dumping or burning of grain and other food products. So we have specifically focused on the United States or some nations in Europe, or as far as I know, Canada, which are countries that are currently overproducing and which have a higher supply than the demand and have in the market. So we are going to get the food, grains, the corns, whatever that we have from them. And as I mentioned, since they're already dumping them to kind of keep the prices low, we believe that if the United Nations is going to buy them, even at a lower price, that will be way better than dumping them for nothing, 0%. Okay? So the United Nations will get the grains from those countries, and then we'll specifically deliver the grain to nations, as she has mentioned, in Sub-Saharan Africa, for example, North Korea, which children and many families are under severely undernourished conditions, and some other countries which are in similar situations. Now, we specifically want to focus on people, as our goal is to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. Those families are living on less than $1.25 a day, which is the least likely poverty. And, well, there's children or family or women who are starving. And as our second speaker has mentioned before, hunger, basic food and water is the basis for anything. It's the basis for jobs. It's the basis for education. It's the basis for your life. Food and water should be provided for anyone to do anything else that's productive, or even just to maintain their lives. So there's a reason why we made this poster, a wanted poster. We believe, now wanted posters, as we all know, are posters that look for people who are supposed to go to or somewhere, which apparently people are looking for, which I don't know, the government or whoever are looking for. Now we believe that we need this program. We need this program to prevent poverty. We need this program to prevent hunger. And we need to help these people in order to save the lives of 1.2 billion people all around the world. So we therefore propose the Hunger Stopper program to you. Thank you.
So questions?
So is UN the main facilitator or the main partner, especially for the budget? I mean, where is all the money going to come from?
That's my question today.
Where's the money coming from?
We thought about that and decided that the main body that would be dealing with this project is going to be the FAO. And regarding the budget, we thought about where this money is going to come from, but then we decided that if we are able to make negotiations with countries and the farmers within the countries, we thought that these farmers may be willing to just give us these crops at a very low price. Because if you look at the current situation, these farmers are throwing away their surplus grain, which doesn't create any money, but in fact must cost a lot of money because you need money to burn these or dispose of these. So we thought that this would be in the interest of the farmers as well, if the UN could take this supply off their hand and if they could control the market prices as well. So we thought that the budget wouldn't be a severe problem for the project.
I have another question. So even if there was a budget in place, it seems like it would be quite a complicated process to get the food from the farmers and ship it all the way to Africa and distribute it to different remote areas where there's violence. But say even that is all possible, it seems like quite a short-term solution that would address the immediate problem of hunger in these countries. However, that's not sustainable. Obviously, we can't do this for hundreds of years going forward, making this transfer, especially if you think about climate change and how eventually perhaps in this country as well and other countries, there won't be an oversupply. So what do you think are maybe some ideas that you might have thought of for addressing the issues of hunger and poverty in the long term? What can be done in the countries where there is hunger and poverty, beyond just this short-term sort of emergency crisis response?
We've been discussing a lot of the problem while we were going up with this project, but I'd like to mention this. We kind of expected that question to come. At the first, this program itself was kind of aimed to give immediate aid to people who are currently starving to death. So, yes, it is. Well, I'll have to admit it's kind of true that it is rather a short-term solution. We can't kind of ship them every single time food when they need it. So, while we were researching about this matter, she found out that investment in the field of agriculture, such as infrastructure or other different fields, is 5 times more effective than investing in other industries. Where was it? Anyway, so while we were thinking of a long-term solution, we actually thought of United Nations investing for these developing countries in the field of agriculture, for example, on the agricultural infrastructure that they need for transporting the grains that they have to the places that they need, or what was the technology on improving the productivity of the grains, so we, as a long-term solution, we were considering those as a possible solution as a sustainable way to resolve this problem. But yeah, the solution that we specifically mentioned in this presentation was rather focused on the immediate aid for those who are currently starving.
Can I have a question? I'm really curious about something.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about the over-consuming? I think that oversupplying is existing because there is over-consuming of citizens. They're over-consuming the foods and something stuff that produced by the factories or developed countries. And I heard that the foods are wasted by the over-consuming, and they're not they bought it but not eat it. But I've never heard that without there are wastes of food that without consuming, just processing and producing.
So, you're asking about whether overproduction does exist, or
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well,
Can it be possible?
Well, the globe has already been producing more amount of food than the current population can consume for quite a few years. I can't remember, but that's for sure. I can assure you that it's even in the book that we have, the United Nations Other Plans. And as for the grain, you're asking about dumping pipe or
I think what she's saying is that people are eating or buying so much food, but they don't even use a lot of the food. They end up throwing away. They buy like a whole box of pasta, and maybe you only use half of it, and then throw it away. So I think she was curious about that. I'm not sure if you ran into any of this.
What I mean is that actually oversupplying it can be possible. Like they producers are producing the stuff or foods because they're consumers.
Are you saying maybe if you focus more on consumers and overconsumption, maybe that will help to deal with the problems of overproduction?
Yeah, it can be a recommendation, but I'm just.
So are you asking, since people considering the fact that people are buying too much, they're over consuming, you're asking whether oversupply itself is possible in the first place?
Yeah.
True, we're buying way much more food than what we can eat, but at the same time, the suppliers are. This is a fact. They are currently consuming more food. And as a globe, they're producing more food, more grains, more corn, or whatever, than what the whole population of the globe can eat currently. And as I said before, that was achieved not very recently, like not this year or something, but a few years ago. And so oversupply does exist, and there has been There has been government action on that matter on farmers. So yes, overproduction does exist, and that is why we're trying to get the overproduced amount of food to the other place that really needs it. So our point of this whole project is redistribution of food.
I think they've been up there long enough. Excellent.